What is up, sports geeks? It's your host Josh here, back with another episode, joined by Alec. As always, last week we had a heck of a week to say the least. We had 6 guys that we needed to start, and we ended up being 5 because I had a Romo Dunze if Keenan Allen didn't play, and Keenan Allen did play, so that no longer classified him. The 5 that we had Singletary versus the Cowboys on Thursday night. That one missed, right? That one we had. I thought he was getting more catches than what he did. It didn't work our way. But Sunday absolutely crushed it there. We had Brian Robinson against the Cardinals, absolutely crushed it there. He had a touchdown, 100+ yards. Then we had Rashid Shaheed against the Falcons. Shaheed had a great game, a lot of targets, a lot of catches, a lot of yards. He just had a great game in general. Deontay Johnson against the Bengals has a touchdown, has a great week against your Bengals. And then in the same game, Zach Moss against the Panthers. You went 3 for 3 last week. Absolutely week there. I'll flash everybody's stats up there as I'm talking about them. But absolutely great week. We're back with only 4 guys this week, and who are must starts. I think it's just a kind of a dry week for me. There's not guys that are glaring must starts to me. And so we don't want to force 6 guys. I know we've had 6 guys every week. We don't want to force it here. But Alec, real quick, just a recap of last week. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, we did great. We were texting during the Sunday slate. We started off with the miss on Thursday night. Thursday nights are just sometimes hard to predict.
Yeah.
It almost made too much sense because of the Singletary against the bad Cowboys rush defense. But Thursday night games are weird. But our Sunday slate, I loved it. In my fantasy leagues, I think I'm in 9. I won 8 of them, and the only reason I lost one of them. It's in the one that I'm in with you. It's a keeper league. It's because Jared Goff caught a touchdown. That's the only reason I lost that one. But yeah, it was a good week for me, and it was a good week for us on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So first one here, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off here. And this, I will say, is the of the 4 that we have here, this one is the last I don't want to say last guy you start. The last guy you would probably think about sitting, and it's Jordan Mason. And the reason I'm going with Mason, it's against the Cardinals. This Cardinals rushing defense is atrocious. The same reason I was on Brian Robinson last week. The same reason why the Lions ran through them 2 weeks ago. It's aligns perfectly here too for Jordan Mason. He's the RB1 right now until CMC is back. You're probably not benching him based off of what he's done. But if you're in a situation where you picked him up on the waiver wire, you have Jonathan Taylor and James Cook or something, do not think about taking Jordan Mason out of your flex, out of your lineup. He's going to have a great week. I understand I don't need to beat this too much because it's unlikely that he's being removed from people's lineups. But this is just kind of one I wanted to really highlight here. He can't leave your lineup.
No, and he shouldn't be leaving your lineup at all. Mm-hmm. If you have him as a flex, you should be thankful. Especially for the teams that are went no running backs early. He is like the perfect like hero, like pick up a hero RB in free agency, just wait and spend all your fab on him if you did and got lucky. Mm-hmm. He should not be leaving your lineup.
Yeah, if CMC doesn't play this season for some reason, I know they're saying kind of early November, but
it's weird. It's getting weird.
Achilles tendonitis is one that can just linger and linger and linger and linger, especially CMC being 29 now. He's hitting the age, right? He's hitting the age threshold. But if he were to not play for the rest of the season, Jordan Mason would be this year's Kyren Williams, in just an absurdly high usage rate with a good offense that's going to score a crap ton of touchdowns. Yeah. So
just pure volume. The CMC thing, he is 29, but I like to bet on freaks. He's a freak. So he'll probably still be good for a couple more years, even if he does come back. But Jordan Mason's a smash this week, just against that Arizona defense.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you there.
Yeah. Okay. So my first one, we thought Roschon Johnson was going to have a huge role last week. He didn't at all. DeAndre Swift looked really good. Against the Rams defense that really isn't that bad. They're more banged up on offense. I think their defense is actually pretty good. Their linebackers aren't that strong. I think Christian Roseboom and Troy Reeder are their linebackers, but their D-line's pretty solid. Safeties are pretty solid. But DeAndre Swift looked great last week. They're playing Carolina, second worst run defense in the league this week.
Yeah.
I think the Bears really get on track. I think this is the first week that Caleb really looks good in the NFL. And I think that DeAndre Swift plays a big part of helping him out.
Well, I'm completely with you there. And to your point, the Panthers' rushing defense has been terrible. The same reason that we were on a couple weeks ago. We were on Zamir White right a couple weeks ago. That one was an unfortunate one. The week before that, we're on. I believe it was. Where's it at here? I believe it was J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, who goes off against Carolina. And then last week we're on Zach Moss. Zach Moss went off. So did Chase Brown. They had 2 fantasy relevant running backs last week. So now you're coming into this week. Roschon Johnson is going to get out-touched by DeAndre Swift. The running game has not been good, but the Panthers' rushing defense is atrocious. So I love DeAndre Swift. I also think that Caleb Williams showed a real willingness to throw dump downs last week. And
Swift had 7 catches.
Yeah, 7 catches. I mean, he was fantasy relevant if he had zero rushing attempts last week. So I love Swift this week. I would like him against most matchups. And the fact that he's got the Carolina Panthers, and I don't know statistically if they're the worst, but to the eye, I think they might be the worst rushing defense in the league. I love it.
Yeah, and last week he would have had 23.5 PPR points without the touchdown. So very solid week. And his score is pretty high.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, we'll go ahead and keep moving through this. And my second one, somebody that you were on last week, it's Deontay Johnson, and he's playing against the Bears here. So the same game that we're talking about. Deontay Johnson is good, but he's not so good that Jalen Johnson's going to follow him. And Jalen Johnson's a stud of a corner, but he's not going to shadow him. That Deontay Johnson's not that good. And Andy Dalton slings the ball. He slings the ball. I also think there's potential for Jonathan Brooks to come back this week, which I think will just open up play action a little bit more. And I think just gives the defense another thing to think about. Jonathan Brooks is way more dynamic than any of the running backs that they use, even though Hubbard's been okay. But I love Deontay Johnson. He's getting peppered with targets, and I think that the upside for him is 10 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown every single week until he proves to me that he's not going to get the volume there.
Yeah, and the problem with Deontay Johnson in the past has been the drops, especially in Pittsburgh. He's catching the ball this year, so that's actually great to see. I hate seeing people drop the ball. I just hate it for them because I know like everybody in the NFL can catch. It just sucks, like kind of when you get in your head a little bit, but. I like Deontay Johnson this week. I love that matchup. I think you're right. I think if the Panthers are going to win, they have to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game. And if you're the team's number one receiver, especially with Adam Thielen being on IR, I mean, he's going to get 11 to 14 targets. So
yes,
I like that in a PPR league. I'll take that every week as a flex.
Yeah, no, I'm all over Deontay Johnson until he burns me. I'm in one of my main leagues. I had Deontay Johnson and subbed him in last minute 2 weeks ago, and he helped me out big time. Played him again last week. The reason I won is because I played Deontay Johnson. So like I am all over Deontay Johnson until I will willingly get burnt at some point in the next 6 weeks. I doubt it will happen as long as Thielen's not playing, but I will willingly get burned. And until that happens, I'm not taking him out of my lineup.
Yeah. Speaking of being burned, I was burned. What week was it? From this next guy that I got. It was week 2 and 3. I started Xavier Worthy. He only had 4 targets. So he's only had 4 targets most in every game that he's played in. I think Xavier Worthy is going to start taking a step here soon. If he shouldn't be available, but you can try to trade for him. So their bye week, and this is important, especially last year, their bye week is week 6. Okay. So they play week 5 this week. I think he could start ramping up this week just because Rashee Rice is going to be out. They're not going to throw the ball to Juju anymore. He's kind of over the hill. Justin Watson, I could see being an issue, like legitimately for him. I think the majority of targets are going to go to Worthy and Kelsey being out. So I like Worthy this week. But I wanted to mention this. Last year, if you check Rashee Rice after their bye week last year, he was unbelievable. He didn't have like less than 8 targets. Their bye week's next week. So if you can try to get Xavier Worthy on a low right now, he could explode for you in the second half of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and another thing, exactly to your point, is last year the Chiefs had a real problem around receiver, right? And that was clear. And after the bye week, Andy Reid was scheming for Rashee Rice. Like, he understood he had a receiver that was really talented after the catch, just like Xavier Worthy is. He was scheming to get him the ball. How can we get Rashee Rice get the ball in his hands 7-8 times a game? It was with Rashee Rice being out, the same thing's going to happen to Xavier Worthy. You can throw the ball to Mahomes you can throw the ball to Kelsey all you want. You have to be able to stretch the defense at some point, whether it's a screen pass that can take it to the house or a deep ball. I'm completely with you in the fact that I think Xavier Worthy, I think he's a chalk in for 8 to 10 targets. Maybe not in week 5, but every week in week 7 and on. I absolutely love that. So right there with you.
Yep.
How about the Mahomes play though that tears Rashee Rice's ACL? Where do you rank that on like butt fumble, interception, then tear your wide receiver one's ACL?
Yeah,
Where do you rank that?
it's just super unfortunate. I mean, that's one of those where we'll be talking about that for a long time. Just think about the most unfortunate events that you've ever watched on a football field.
Yeah.
That's got to be up there.
Yeah. I didn't have the game on yet, and I was doing some things around my apartment, and I opened Twitter and I see a tweet that says Patrick Mahomes just threw an interception and then tore Rashee Rice's ACL. Yes, you read that right. And I was like, oh my God.
I think the weird part is that they're not saying it's a torn ACL yet.
Yeah, that's the weird part. Is like initially it was like nearly confirmed, yes, torn ACL. And then it was like, wait a second, actually, no, it's not confirmed yet. Like,
yeah, so and this is me, so I know, I would not drop him yet.
No, do not drop him yet until they say he's out for the season officially.
Yeah, because if he's out for 5 weeks, if I'm your league mate, I'm snagging him up and I'm just keeping him on my bench and praying I get to the playoffs so I can have him in my flex. So
yeah, the only reason you need to be dropping him is if you're in a situation where you're like 1-3 or 0-4 and you need to win now, and there's somebody you're in like a not as deep of a league, as a kind of a shallow league, and you can go pick up a DeAndre Swift or Xavier Worthy or something like. Yeah, if you can get any of those guys, then like.
If you're like one of those like 8 or 10 men leagues with like 5 bench guys and like 7 starters, like there are people on the waiver wire that are legitimately like 80% rostered in most leagues.
Yeah.
So if you're in one of those, I would definitely. I think you could drop them.
Okay, so those are our 4 guys for this week. So we absolutely crushed it last week. I have a strong feeling. We don't have 6 guys this week. We only have 4. We're not going to force 6. But we have Jordan Mason, Deontay Johnson, DeAndre Swift, and Xavier Worthy. I got a feeling we're going 4-for-4. We haven't had a perfect yet. I think week 1 we went 6 of 7.
Yeah.
And then in and then this past week we went 4 of 5. So we are on the verge of sweeping one. I got a good feeling about this week, but those are our 4 guys for this week. And other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.
Puts up a 3. Won't go. Rebound box. Back out to Alec.